And welcome. Let's take a look at our top story this hour. Indian Parliament's monsoon session that began this week may be cut short over growing cases of COVID-19 among MPs and Parliament staffers. During the course of the last 6 days, 30 lawmakers were found infected with the coronavirus. The Indian Parliament met for the first time in 6 months on the 14th of September and was to function until the 1st of October. A Parliamentary Business Advisory Committee chaired by Speaker Umbrella is meeting on the issue and is expected to announce its decision shortly after the 30 MPs were found infected with the coronavirus. Now, WION's political editor, Kartikeya Sharma, is joining us live on the phone line for more on this. Good evening to you, Kartikeya. Barely a week since the session began, and already they are talking about possibly cutting it short following the 30 lawmakers testing positive for COVID-19.
Alison, the situation in the Indian Parliament is unprecedented. More than 3 members of Parliament have passed away because of COVID-19, even before the Parliament session could commence. It's one of the shortest sessions of Parliament in the Indian history, which is not more than 15 days. There are very few bills which need to be passed. Very few MPs are in attendance. But what has happened over a period of time is of great concern. More than 30 MPs, members of Parliament of both lower and upper house, have tested positive after they came to the house, which means that the RT-PCR test which was taken and the basic COVID-19 test which was done 2 days before the session, it was not enough of a firewall to prevent any contagion inside. Despite that, 30 members of Parliament have roughly tested COVID-19 positive, and there are more than 4 dozen employees of the Parliament who too have tested COVID-19 positive. Now that has created a very piquant, a very tragic situation, because Parliament is essential to the functioning of any democracy in the world. But the basic tool of democracy has become dysfunctional because of COVID-19 virus. Now, as we speak, there's a meeting which is taking place in the Parliament, headed by the chairman of the upper house, which is known as Lok Sabha in India, and he is holding business advisory committee meeting with the 2 senior members of every party on the call whether they should curtail the Parliament further or not. Parliament in itself is functioning on Saturdays and Sundays, and with such a situation where number of members and the staffers who are working there testing positive, they want to take other political parties on table whether they would like the Parliament to continue for another week or so. So anyway, when we talk about curtailment of Parliament, it's not going to mean much. But the fact is that even with the little of what was being planned, the COVID-19 virus is making things completely dysfunctional, in the sense that you need to hurry through the legislation, you need to reduce the legislation, you don't have impromptu questions in Parliament, you don't have MPs meeting. It has affected the pattern of meetings of the Standing Committee of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. You don't have intense interaction on public issues and policies. So ultimately, it actually impacts the way democracy functions. And that is how COVID-19, in a myriad of ways, is impacting civil society, economy, and now the politics, or I would say the crucible of democracy, which is Parliament in India.
Absolutely, Kartikeya. And as you said, I mean, in India, the Indian Parliament has met now for the first time in 6 months on the 14th of September. They were meant to be in session until the 1st of October. Could you take us through how you think this is likely to affect Parliament? These pending bills, as you said, there are reduced numbers of bills. When will this work be able to be completed?
Oh, absolutely, because now the next Parliament session will be even more crucial, because you don't have a budget unless and until you have a Parliament session. India is witnessing case surge of 90,000 plus cases every day. Now, the next year, the Parliament which is going to meet, or the next session which Parliament will have, is the winter session of the Parliament. And the winter session is immediately succeeded by the budget session of the Parliament. Now, in case we are not able to handle Parliament of 14 days, and that too in such a segregated way, that in morning we have upper house meeting, in the evening we have the meeting of the separate house, spread over 3 different chambers in Lok Sabha, it means that more needs to be planned. It also means that we will need to build an infrastructure whereby parliamentarians would be sitting at their home and debating the issues of Parliament, which means the whole Parliament will need to become virtual, and the reporting will become virtual, and even the secretarial staff will have to make every procedure of Parliament digital in nature. It means that the paperwork will have to completely go out of the window. It also means that the physical infrastructure of Parliament will have to be made redundant. If Parliament as a concept of democracy needs to function, Alison. It will be a challenging task for the government and technologists.
Karthikeya, thank you very much for bringing us that analysis there for all the latest coming out of Parliament.